Hello, everybody, and welcome to another AMA with American Crypto Academy. And today we have the one and only John Sarson. He's the CEO of Sarson Funds, and Jahon, he is the CEO of American Crypto Academy. And these guys go way back, and they've built some amazing things together, and they are bringing you guys so much value just nonstop. So it's going to be an interesting day. We've got a lot of different questions lined up for you guys. And if you want to ask any questions during the live stream, please drop them on YouTube or Twitch. Retweet there on Twitter. We're giving away a copy of their book, Deep Crypto, today, which I have read. I opened it up at 2 a.m. and I read the whole thing front to back without stopping. It is, it's phenomenal. So without further ado, let's go ahead and we will start with John. If you want to introduce yourself for a minute, and then we'll pass the mic over.
Well, thank you, AltMom, and thanks for reading the book. It's great to be here. It's good to be with you, Jahon. Also, when I was asked to come and talk about Casper and why Casper is a core holding in our portfolios at Sarson Funds, I jumped at that opportunity. Casper has been a story that at Sarson Funds we've really dug deep on, and there's a lot of meat to the Casper movement, and it's something that we share with our clients frequently. And looking forward to sharing with the audience today some of the things that we see in Casper that get us excited, and share some of the reasons why we invested. Sarson Funds.
Absolutely, and I'm going to jump on in here for a second.
Please.
Welcome everybody. Thanks, AltMom, for the wonderful introduction. And yes, John and I go way back. And this is the second AMA in a series that we've had on Casper. We were fortunate enough last time to have Ralph Kubley from the board, Casper's board, join me for a conversation on the Casper Network, Casper Labs, and the ecosystem that they're building in terms of enterprise blockchain. So we thought it'd be really important to follow that up with, let's have a conversation with folks who've invested. And I'm not talking about the folks on Twitter. I'm not talking about if you get a bag of Casper in your wallet or so on and so forth. For those that don't know, Sarson Funds has sort of been on the, had Casper on the radar for quite some time. And we're going to talk about how that came to be, right? And we're going to talk about what Casper was doing that was a little bit different, and the approach that they were taking that made it such an intriguing prospect for the institutional side of crypto, right? So we're going to discover that a little bit because in terms of L1s, we feel that Casper took a sort of an international first approach in marketing, and we'll talk about that later. So we want to be able to specifically for our US-based audience, but for everyone around the world tuning in, give them an understanding of, okay, this is what a digital asset crypto hedge fund and portfolio managers looked at. This is how they evaluated it, and this is why it was important to them. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm super thrilled to have John, here on our AMA. John, we've been in the battles and in the trenches here in digital assets for quite some time, and it, we saw Casper, very, very early on. So why don't we start from there?
That's right.
Really quick. So
sure.
Just for anybody that's watching or listening, one of the reasons why it's breaking down and looking at a company and why they invested and what the opportunities are, this is important that you take into consideration whatever it is that you are building, what people are looking for, what is the way that you become an investable project. And you don't have to be Casper, you don't have to be a giant blockchain to be able to hit a lot of these points. So make sure you're taking notes.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's as you get the time to get your pen and paper out, all right, let's dive into that conversation, all right? So why don't we talk about how did it emerge on the Sarson Funds investment team's radar, John, and what stuck out about the project, to you when we first saw it?
I'll be glad to share that. So a little quick background on Sarson Funds. We are an institutional investment manager. We run cryptocurrency hedge funds for accredited investors. We have 5 different strategies. Casper is in our small cap strategy. And we first ran into the Casper story about 20 years ago in 2020. 20 years in crypto. And in 2020, it was, it was still a bear market. We really hadn't had our a recovery from the euphoria of 2017. 2018, 2019 were disasters, and we were still kind of looking for reasons why tokens needed to exist. Like, we had plenty of certainty that Ethereum was a project that was going to change the world. And when Casper came across our desk, we saw a lot of what we liked about Ethereum in the Casper project. In a lot of ways, it was like a completion piece to some of Ethereum's, not, I don't want to say shortcomings, but Ethereum very much has become a victim of its own success in the fact that it's become an expensive blockchain to do business on. And it brought with it some features that Ethereum disavowed, specifically the ability to have an implementation team sponsored by the blockchain that can come and help your company use this layer 1 protocol. It also had some advantages over Ethereum at the time, some of which Ethereum has now closed the gap on, such as being a proof of stake protocol. But we right away saw a layer 1 that had a focus. In a world of tokens where focus is typically not how you would describe the business plan for most cryptocurrencies, Casper kind of stood out in its ambition to become an enterprise solution used for blockchain.
And, let's talk about like enterprise and business for a second, John, because I don't think that everybody really has an understanding, right? There are certain business needs that Casper seemed to have been able to meet real quick. And I wanted to sort of highlight those because I think they dovetail into what you saw as important. And that was customizability, rapid, application deployment, and that also professional services capabilities as well, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but we hadn't seen that really angle of attack yet in the enterprise ecosystem. It was more on sort of like consumer facing or large initial like large retail brand name projects, right?
Well, that's right. And we saw a lot of offerings that are going to be a cash transfer protocol, or they're going to be the next Ethereum. And we saw very few offerings that had a business plan for how they were going to be a business solution to help businesses embrace the technology of blockchain
John,
technology.
can you give a couple examples of how this network can solve some of those problems? Like, what does it do for people that don't understand exactly how digital assets are utilized within a company?
Sure. There's a lot of legacy processes at a lot of big companies that would not be described as being very efficient if you were to look at them objectively. Broadridge Financial, for example, they're the company that clears trades for Wall Street firms like Morgan Stanley. There are currently 13 different human-led processes that happen each time someone makes a trade in order to clear that trade. And this
Hold on, wait, 13 people have to manually put their hands on this?
Correct.
Gotcha.
And that's why, securities settle T+3. It takes them 3 days to go through this line of 13 people. Broadridge Financial has been an early adopter of blockchain. They have a private blockchain. And they have said publicly that they believe that implementing a blockchain will improve their operational efficiencies and save them somewhere between $9 and $11 billion a year. Just being able to take advantage of the immutability and the transparency of a blockchain ledger. And so that's a private company using a private blockchain. And the largest private blockchain in the world right now is IBM's Hyperledger. And a lot of companies are figuring out ways to make their business operations better using blockchain technology. It's great. It's progress.
Because IBM, they want to attract, right? That's the goal.
Well, that's an open source, private, permissioned blockchain, and companies are using that. And IBM makes a great deal of money helping companies implement Hyperledger to increase efficiencies. but it falls short in categories that public blockchains, such as Ethereum and Casper, shine. And one of those is transparency. A second is durability, and the third is the ability to be permissionless, or basically not have to involve the company to transfer your bond, which came from the company, onto a public blockchain. Then you can do permissionless things with your tokens once they're on a public blockchain, like Casper or like Ethereum.
Right, and I do want to add for folks too that this is for more than just financial transactions or recordings. Casper's capabilities and this I think can highlight the need, the defined need in the space for private blockchains is in rapid application deployment within a closed environment. And if you're an enterprise software person, that makes sense to you, right? Enterprise software projects are large, complex, involve multiple vendors, multiple levels of architecture. And in order to make those happen quickly, integration components and like little mini apps within that project need to be deployed rapidly. And if blockchain is going to be able to do that, that needs to be able to, the pace of that type of development and like the learning curve needs to match the pace of business. And that's that's something that a lot of folks don't realize. Business moves fast, particularly fast in enterprise software. So you can't stop and learn new things and train a team on brand new things and then get them involved in your current already continued running business process that they missed a bunch of, right? Even like when you're trying to roll in new developers. So it's the rapid like application deployment that's a blockchain powered application deployment within a closed environment on like things that IBM is doing, Amazon Web Services is doing for large scale, either public works or other types of private projects. So that's the type of scale, right, John? And that's why private blockchains are really important. It's not just the financial transactions, it's this type of development.
Well, private blockchains are great, but no one invested in a private blockchain, right? Private blockchains are private. You can run a private blockchain in your family that control whose turn it is to do the dishes, and that would be your family's private blockchain. But your customers don't want your private blockchain. They want a public blockchain because public blockchains are transparent, permissionless, durable, and secure. And so you have to, at some point, transition the information on whose night it is to do dishes to a public blockchain. Now that happens through something called an atomic swap. And I love that word. It sounds amazing. I got to see a team from IBM demonstrate an atomic swap occur between between IBM's Hyperledger and Casper's network when I was in Davos, Switzerland with the Casper team 2 years ago. And a light bulb really kind of went off for me. Two light bulbs maybe. One is finally I understood, that makes sense. Like your clients don't want to just have like a note on your blockchain that says, I own this asset, because what if you go to business? They want to have that note on a public blockchain where it's secure and durable and transferable. And the other light bulb that went off for me was that you have to have a team that's going to actually enable the atomic swap. You need an implementation team to make sure that your blockchain and the public blockchain speak to each other. And IBM was already 2 years ago flying to Switzerland to demonstrate their commitment to the team at Casper, which I thought was a fabulous endorsement. And that's the same thing in a lot of ways that AWS has done. Amazon Web Services made Casper only the second blockchain behind Ethereum that they've put a developer toolkit up for to make it easy for developers to develop on top of Casper. Casper is living up to its stated ambition of becoming an enterprise solution. And they take it one step further, and they actually have an implementation team that will go and help your company figure out how to use their blockchain. It's called Casper Labs, and it's just like IBM. It's like a for-profit business that shows companies how to use Casper blockchain. And let me tell you something: every public blockchain would be better off having an for-profit implementation team, Ethereum does not have one. There's no one on Team Ethereum that will come and show you how to do an atomic swap from your private blockchain onto Ethereum.
Right. I mean, like, John, let's think about it for a sec. Usability and ease of use, kind of a common theme and complaint in crypto, right? So, yeah, that's definitely key. Altmom, we do have some questions coming in. Did you want to?
I do.
Yeah, we do. So let's.
So one of the things, really quick, while I pull some of these up, is last week we did an interview with Casper, the Casper Association. It was really amazing. And if anybody wants to go and look back at that, please do. Make sure you're following our account, and let's get into some of the reasons why these two guys are beneficial for this ecosystem. So first off, we want to know when Sarson started investing in Casper.
So we participated in the ICO on Casper. We've since added to our position. But when we saw the ICO in 2020, we realized that it was only one of about a dozen layer ones. You know, in a token universe of 10,000 tokens, there's still only a dozen or so layer one protocols. And we like the idea of a layer one protocol that had a specific focus on business. Because business is not going away, and they're certainly embracing technology, and they certainly look for efficiencies using blockchain technology. And it's a good focus. There's really only maybe 2 or 3 blockchains that are really trying to be enterprise solutions. We immediately fell in love with Casper when we saw their focus on the enterprise.
Yeah. So one of the questions we have from one of the viewers, John, is, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but so how does Casper have a competitive advantage over ETH and Matic? Like, what is it and how do they have it? We talked a little bit about ETH, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, ETH has upgraded itself now, and Matic is a scaling solution on top of Ethereum. Casper kind of like came out of its cradle with these features already pre-installed. Casper is low cost. It's proof of stake. It's a Rust protocol. It's a Rust programming language protocol, which is the developer's choice when it comes to programming languages. It's upgradability, which is really important to make sure that your blockchain can be future-proof. So Casper is Casper 2.0 and Casper 1.0. At the same time. Matic is an amazing blockchain. We love Matic, and we think that Matic is going to do amazing things on top of Ethereum. But I don't see Matic catering to institutional needs as well as Casper.
So, John, that might tie into another question we got from the audience here. So, with that being the case, what are the types of businesses that will benefit most from Casper?
It's a good question. Businesses that are running Hyperledger, which is the most popular blockchain in the world, are going to benefit from Casper over like a Matic, in my opinion, because there's more developer support to make sure that your private blockchain communicates well with a public blockchain. And Matic has, we love Matic. I mean, don't get me wrong, Matic's a great blockchain. It's a little bit more focused on speed and focused on low cost than it is necessarily focused on the need for repeatable day-to-day business processes the way that Casper is, in my opinion.
So I will use this opportunity to drop a little alpha here too, John. So not to put you on the spot, but we got a great question also. Considering Sarson Funds' decision to back its stablecoins exclusively with USDC from Circle, how does this approach enhance the transparency and trust of the newly introduced stablecoin on Casper?
Oh, thank you for that. Thank you for that. That's fabulous segue or opportunity to advertise. Yeah, we announced that we're going to be launching a stablecoin on the Casper Network.
Wait, a little louder for the ones in the back. I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you, John.
Sarson Funds is going to be launching a collateralized US dollar-based stablecoin on top of Casper. There's already a stablecoin on top of Casper. Ours is going to be a little unique in the fact that we're going to take USDC as collateral. When you launch a public blockchain, you need a couple of core components in order to make your blockchain very useful to people. You need a wallet. You need a DeFi ecosystem. and you need stable coins. With the new Responsible Financial Innovation Act that's in front of Congress currently, stable coins are going to need to be fully collateralized, dollar for dollar, and they're going to need to be issued by a certified banking institution in the United States. So Sarson Funds is searching for that banking institution as we speak that can help us launch a stablecoin on top of Casper. We'll be taking USDC as collateral. But Casper's ecosystem has been putting together the pieces necessary to become a world-class public blockchain. You also need a block explorer, obviously. And if people haven't checked out Casper.live, they should check that out. It's a great block explorer. But there's a lot of pieces that need to come together. It's not so easy as just launching a blockchain and saying, oh, well, the institution should come now without a couple of core components, one of them being a stable coin that's accepted in the United States.
This is like a major thing that's happening right now is the stablecoin discussions. And I know we're going to have a Twitter space later on, and I would love to get deeper into how important it is, especially with USDC, that we have these opportunities to create more areas to be able to utilize that.
Yeah, I mean, Jahon and I lunched with a friend at Circle not 2 weeks ago, and the feedback from the lunch was that as soon as synthetic versions of USDC gain some market share, then Circle itself will launch a native USDC token on that chain. It's exactly what they just did with Avalanche. So I think our stablecoin will probably gain popularity, and then it will be replaced by a native issued USDC stablecoin from Circle on Casper's blockchain. I would expect that will happen during this calendar year. Circle's already been looking at Casper, from what I understand.
In terms of so I want to say, so in terms of additional announcements and the way that Casper, with all these names that we've talked about, right, John, IBM, right, we're talking about large heavy hitters. I have a feeling there's some folks stateside at home being like, why still haven't I heard much about Casper? And let's talk about what their approach was first, right? It was they went after the international market first, and we kind of understand the reasons behind that, but now they're making their push back here into the US. So I wanted to get your sort of insights onto where you see them going the next 6 months to beyond, as well as some of the recent announcements and upcoming ones that might be coming down the pipe.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Casper, for a while, I accused Casper of keeping it a secret, all of the great partnerships and development that was going on their blockchain from the United States. They have a fabulous presence in Ireland. They have a great presence in Singapore and in Hong Kong and the Middle East. In India, there's entire smart cities that are being designed on top of the Casper blockchain. In Bangalore, which is a little city of a couple 100 million of people, designing a smart city on top of Casper's blockchain. But they had been somewhat of non-vocal in the United States market, and I think that they're slowly changing that. I think that perhaps it was a function of the dysfunction in the U.S. regulatory scene, where we didn't really have comprehensive crypto regulation. You notice Casper did not get named as one of the blockchains that Gary Gensler wanted to call a security, all of which have since been absolved thanks to the Ripple court case last Friday. But it was nice to be under the radar on that one, so maybe Casper played that one just right. But Casper is certainly a business solution, and the United States is the home of the world's businesses, and it is starting to make a noticeable push inside the United States.
I want to throw a question over to you, John. But so with the American Crypto Academy, what are you guys looking for to shine a light on? What is your role in bringing Casper out in front of everyone in a lot of the projects that you work with?
We take a holistic approach to digital asset education. And one area that I don't think is as clear to most of the digital, your top level, very visible digital asset investor is the scale, size, and scope. One, the scale, size, and scope of the enterprise ecosystem, the requirements of enterprise software, right? And what those projects look like, right? Because you have to have an understanding of that to really appreciate, right? And that's not just like something to know so you can appreciate Casper. That's something you should know, right? If you're going to understand, the increasingly digital world we're moving into, that's a good thing to know, because there's a variety of different spaces, whether it's enterprise software, and there's limitless ones within that, right? So wherever blockchain solutions are bringing important value, we want to highlight that, and we think that this is a perfect use case and example right here. We want to highlight Casper and their foray in building what I think is a very market sector specific, like appropriate solution, right? They're not trying. They're trying to work with the existing enterprise to, because like I said, the time you take as a large scale software company, the time you take to train and learn new things is time you're taking away from building. So you need to have them run in parallel, right? So
yeah, it's interesting. You
like
look at the education process. Go ahead, John.
I was going to just say, like, the one thing I think we should mention. I don't know how much time we have, but Casper's team is. I don't want to say that they're old like Jahon and I, but they're old like Jahon and I.
Thank you.
Marinol, the CEO, Meta, the CFO, Cliff, Brock Pierce is part of their advisory team. These are individuals that are proven individuals that have had successful projects before. And this is not their first foray into a technology company, nor is it their first foray into managing investor capital, obtaining financing, managing development teams. They have a really, I think, exemplary Rolodex of early investors, guys like Lou Kerner, Bradley Rotter, and others that have invested first in these talented people, then second in their concept that they came up with together. And I think that's a formula for success. One that we wish we could always take. Unfortunately, many of the teams in crypto don't have as much experience launching projects or managing 200-person development teams. But Casper has that talent on their teams. They are well-financed. They have recently received a public investment from Anthony Scaramucci from Skybridge Capital, which probably brings along with it an ability to raise Casper's profile on Wall Street, which is one place that it has not really been well known. So I think that Casper has kind of been playing all the right cards and playing a long game. They're picking up business clients like IPWE, which is a patent repository, I guess you would call it, a patent company.
Call them the patent conglomerate, right? IPWE.
That has 20 million patents, and they put them all on chain in one of the, if not the largest single on-chain deployment in blockchain history. They put all of their patents on chain. So they're not fooling around with, they do have an NFT ecosystem. I shouldn't say they're not fooling around with like PFPs, because Casper Punks is something that is I'm excited about, and I know that's a real project. And in fact, my WhatsApp picture is a Casper NFT. So they have NFTs. That's one of the boxes you check when you're a public blockchain, making sure you have all of the necessary features to deliver value up and down the chain there. Say that again, John.
You got to have the Web3 cred, right? And that's a good balance too. That I think the Casper team strikes is that deep Web3 expertise, mature approach, right? Mature approach to a sophisticated problem. And I know you guys are excited to see how they deliver, and we're excited to sort of bring that, bring that to the foray. We got one last question coming in, John, and then and then I think that that will wrap us up. But we got one more on the stablecoin. So how will Casper USDC as a stablecoin address user demands within Casper Network, and how could something like that, the introduction of which potentially shape the growth?
Sure, that's a great question. So like anytime you're tokenizing anything, whether it's a patent or a bond or a piece of art or anything, and you have a marketplace, you need to have like a denominator currency. And your denominator currency usually is the US dollar. And a coin like Casper USDC, being a compliant US dollar-based stablecoin, is going to give people the assurance that if they sell their patent and they receive cash for this, Casper USDC, they're going to be allowed to hold that cash here in the United States. And they're not going to have to say like, oh, well, this is no longer a valid stablecoin, then maybe worry about the stability of their stablecoin because it's an unregulated stablecoin. And when it gets deplatformed, maybe it doesn't hold $1 anymore. That introduces an unneeded and unwanted variable into a financial transaction. So having a qualified stablecoin on your blockchain lets you do financial transactions with certainty, both on price stability and on regulatory permission.
Amazing. This week has been really interesting, just seeing some of the different exchanges and the things that are coming out about the stable coins. And this is an incredible piece of alpha that could solve some of those problems that we're facing right now.
let's talk about valuation on Casper, because we saw Casper trade around 24 cents during the last bull market, and today Casper trades around 4 cents. At Sarson Funds, we're actually tactically acquiring more Casper. We think that if you compare it to other layer 1 protocols, it's the cheapest layer 1 protocol in the market, and that's why we buy it for our clients. We think that even going back to 20 cents, still be the cheapest layer 1 protocol. And as businesses continue to choose Casper, because Casper is the easiest public blockchain for them to partner with, to give their clients, their customers, all of these benefits that come when your firm starts distributing financial assets or intellectual property on top of a blockchain, and they choose Casper, like they're going to realize that Casper is a very widely used and under-owned investable asset. And we think that we could see Casper trade $1, $2. And so we'll be holding on to our Casper for the time being.
I want to throw this over to Jahon, because last week we talked a bit about the fund that Casper has right now for developers. We talked about Casper Labs. Do you want to just kind of mention a few of the ways that people can get involved with Casper if they're not already familiar?
Go visit Casper. Casper.network. You can visit them online. They have some information on some of their developer enhancement projects. But we'll definitely retweet out the link from the last AMA for folks to check that out. But
that's the last piece of the puzzle, actually, AltMom, that you need if you're going to be a successful layer 1 protocol. You need to have a block explorer. You need to have NFTs. You need to have a wallet. You need to have a DeFi ecosystem. If you haven't been to Casper Swap, check that out. And you need to have a fund for developers. And Casper has all those things. The stars are really aligning for Casper, and the customers are coming in. I hear announcements every week of new major corporations coming onto the ecosystem.
Absolutely. So go check it out, developer.casper.network. And thank everybody for joining us today. AltMom, thanks very much for hosting and being a fantastic MC as always. John, it's a pleasure seeing you as always, bud.
We love talking about projects that we believe in. So anytime you want to talk more Casper, you can reach us at sarsonfunds.com, and we'll be happy to share with you personally what we like about this project, or anything else you see in our portfolios. We invest in around 50 different blockchains that we believe in. We think they're going to change the world for the better. In the case of Casper, it's going to change businesses for the better. So we'll be happy to elaborate further.
Yeah, definitely. And we're happy to shine a light on, all sorts of parts of where the, digital asset ecosystem is growing into. So we're happy to talk about this. And I think it definitely filled a lot of gaps from our last AMA too. We got a good, healthy understanding of, what Casper is, what it does, and heard from them. And, we really appreciate some of the insights that we got today from an investment perspective, particularly, from like an institutional point of view. So thank you everybody for joining us. This has been fantastic. We look forward to seeing you on future AMAs. We will be having more of them soon. We got some great feedback from everybody on the last one, and hopefully we'll get the same or similar on this one too. So without further ado, thank you, AltMom, thank you, John, and we'll catch you all here next time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.